I often explain it to my student in that way that theoretical framework is not any for not a specific situation. You are generalizing things. And when you have a conceptual framework, often it is for a particular situation when you are working on it. You are bringing together the idea, the concepts from literature review to bring everything together. So the conceptual framework is for your particular research, but when you translate the theoretical framework, which is kind of a general thing, once you make the theoretical framework, which is an established one, you just picked it and translated it into for your situation, it becomes a conceptual framework. So in that way, you can see that the theoretical framework and conceptual framework, they're kind of connected. But in a general thing that theoretical framework is a kind of, I wouldn't say established, it is kind of established because lots of research actually put into to develop a theoretical framework. You can build your research upon a theoretical framework, but if you want to put elements in it to explain the situation you will be focusing on in a particular research, you are actually converting it into a conceptual framework. But once the research is done and similar concept is used for other research, altogether, all those conceptual framework at the end, along the time, will create a new theoretical framework. This is the way I see theoretical and conceptual.
Maybe there will be some variation in the way these differences between conceptual framework and theoretical framework are conceived across some disciplines. I'll use the example of media studies, for instance. If I'm interested in studying the effect or the impact of particular media on particular behavior, my concept would be, I mean, if I'm asking, for instance, my concept will hover around the issues or questions or definitions of impact, and the definition of, if I'm going across social demographic variables, these specifications of these variables. So a key concept, for instance, that I want to define will be the question of impact and what makes up an impact. But that I am going to define from literature, and I think there will be more than one concept. So the networking or the perceived interaction of these different concepts form what the theoretical framework for my work is. Now, in media studies, there is a huge body of theories of media effect. And I'm likely going to anchor my research on one of these, the one that I think best frames whose propositions frames the investigation, best frames the investigation that I'm trying to carry out. So my theoretical framework is going to be around the theory that frames my work. The conceptual framework will be the specific concepts that I am trying to interrogate. Of course, there is a very important connection between the two, because today's literature more or less becomes tomorrow's theory, and today's concepts are driven from today's literature. So there is a connection between them, but then there is a thin line that separates them, in my view.